So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this talk, the National Science Foundation's I-Corps Teams program. We're just going to give folks another minute or two to log in, and then we'll get started. All right, so I'd like to go ahead and kick this off. My name is Molly Wasko. I am a program director for the National Science Foundation in the I-Corps program. Today's webinar, I'll be providing an overview of the National Science Foundation's I-Corps Teams program. So the agenda for today is really to give you an overview of the program, to talk you through the application process, to discuss a little bit about cohort availability, and then to open it up for your questions. So my part of the talk will take about 30 minutes or so, which should leave plenty of time for Q&A with you guys. So if you can please hold your questions until the end of end of my talk, that we should have plenty of time to get to Q&A. So starting with, oh, I forgot. So other program directors within the I-Corps program, Ruth Schumann, she'll be joining us today, and also Jaime Camilio. So there are three of us. So what is I-Corps? I-Corps is a 7-week entrepreneurial training program, and the motto of I-Corps is really to get you out of the lab. And the purpose is to help you learn how to evaluate the commercial or market potential of the opportunities, the discoveries that you create in your labs, so for your technologies. That this program is designed specifically for scientists and engineers like yourself that probably have very little entrepreneurial training, possibly even very little exposure to the industries that you're seeking to commercialize into. So this program was specifically designed for you. So you guys are already expert in technologies, so you know how to solve your technical problems within your labs. What you need to do at this point is to figure out what is the market opportunity. So for this to happen, you actually have to become an expert in your customers. So in order to do this, as part of the I-Corps program, during the 7 weeks that you will travel either virtually or in person to meet with over 100 potential customers. These could also include potential partners, other types of stakeholders, to become an expert in this customer, to really understand, is there a market potential for my discovery, and how would I take advantage of that? What is the commercial pathway for my technology? So I-Corps program basics. It is a real-world, hands-on experiential learning opportunity. And the method that you guys are going to use is called customer discovery. This method is based on Steve Blank's Lean Launchpad course that he developed at Stanford University. The National Science Foundation actually partnered with Steve Blank back about 10, 11 years ago to develop this program specifically for NSF to explore the commercial potential of deep technologies that come out of our academic institutions. The primary tool that you guys will learn how to use is called the Business Model Canvas. So the Business Model Canvas has the 9 building blocks to a sustainable and repeatable business model. And so you guys are going to learn how to launch an entrepreneurial venture by actually engaging in the activities that any startup would engage in. So it is, once again, very experiential. You will get out of the lab, you will go out and talk to your customers. So it really is a contact sport. The I-Corps program mission is to reduce the risk associated with translating technologies from the lab to the marketplace. So universities are really the engines of innovation in the United States. NSF alone invests over $9 billion into research and development, into our labs. Of course, the biggest challenge is really, well, how do we translate these discoveries from the laboratory out into commercial applications, out into societal benefit? So when we talk about reducing the risk, we're not talking about the risk associated with your technologies, rather the risk associated with finding and entering a marketplace. So the purpose of I-Corps is really to reduce the risk associated with your customer risk. So by the end of the program, that we hope that you will have identified a feasible commercial pathway for your technology. But not only that, we hope that you will discover a lot about yourself and your own professional development pathway as a scientist, as an engineer, and discover whether or not, having being an entrepreneur and starting your own company is something that's really right for you. So the specific I-Corps aims, number one, is to support the translation and commercialization of deep technologies. And by deep technologies, what we mean, primarily technologies resulting from fundamental or basic discoveries in science and engineering within our labs at universities and research institutions. So there has to be some type of technology, some type of new innovation that comes out of a lab in order to be eligible for I-Corps. The second program aim is to address the skill and knowledge gaps associated with transforming basic research into deep technology ventures. So the goal here is to teach our scientists and engineers how to think differently about their technologies, how to think, see their technology from the point of view of a potential customer, a potential payer, and for you to figure out who is that person and why would they care about my technology. So in terms of National I-Corps Teams eligibility, there are two general requirements. The first one I just talked about, that you must have a deep technology, you must have a technology connection to a research university or a research institution, university or institute of higher education. The second requirement is you must submit the application from an institution of higher education. So you need to have a technology connection, and the proposal that must come from an institute of higher education. There are two eligibility pathways to be able to participate. The first one is what we call NSF lineage. So if you had a prior research award from NSF that is relevant to your I-Corps project and that's been active within the past 5 years, then you are eligible to come into I-Corps through the NSF lineage pathway. This lineage extends to the PI of the award, to the co-PIs. It also extends to other people that were active on the grant, including senior personnel, any postdocs, graduate students, even professional staff. So if you have not had a prior research award from NSF, this other pathway for you to consider is to come through an I-Corps regional program. So you can participate in an I-Corps regional program. These are offered through our I-Corps hubs, nodes, and sites, which I will talk about on the next slide. And then if you receive a recommendation from your regional program, then you can apply to a national cohort. So keep in mind that if you are an NSF lineage team, we still highly recommend that you participate in a regional program. So this will give you, an introduction to the customer discovery process, an introduction to the business model canvas before you get to the national program, which means you'll just be able to hit the ground running. You'll already understand the methodology, you'll understand the unique vocabulary that we use, and you'll have a good foundation from which to actually continue your customer discovery. A goal for NSF is to broaden participation. It is one of our key priorities, especially in the National I-Corps Teams program. So if you're at an institution that is a minority serving institution, maybe you're not at a top tier Research One school, we still strongly encourage you to apply, that you are welcome to participate and welcome to actually integrate into our regional program and hubs program, hub programs. So here is a map of what we call the I-Corps National Innovation Network. So it primarily consists of what we call I-Corps hubs. So if you look on the right side of this graphic, we have 10 I-Corps hubs. These are actually consortium of 8 to 10, possibly even more universities. And the idea is to develop a regional innovation ecosystem around these hubs, these regional areas. In addition to the I-Corps hubs, we also have I-Corps nodes and I-Corps sites that are also on the map. So you are able to participate in any regional program offered by any one of these affiliates within the National Innovation Network. So if you are not at a hub or site institution and want to participate, take a look at the map. It's posted on our website, and find the closest program in your region and check out their website. They're all linked on our website to be able to get to the hubs to find a regional program in your area. So these regional programs could vary from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, that these hubs are offering regional programs that are constantly kicking off. So you'll be able to find one that works with the timing for you. And so lots of accessibility. So the other reason we encourage you to connect into our I-Corps hub system, because not only do they provide access to a regional program, but they also have lots of other resources to help entrepreneurial ventures within that region. So it'll help you tap into some of the key and most significant resources within that regional innovation ecosystem. So how do you apply? The application is a little bit different. So the first thing you'll need to do is to form a team. These have 3 primary roles on the team. The first one is what we call the entrepreneurial lead. The entrepreneurial lead is typically a graduate student or a postdoc, and their role on the team is to really act as the team leader, and they're the ones that are typically committed to seeing through the commercialization of the innovation or idea. This is an extraordinarily valuable professional development and leadership activity for our graduate students and postdocs. And it really gives them that firsthand industry experience that helps shape them, not only as very rigorous researchers, but also that, one that thinks about how they would translate ideas out into societal impact. The second role is what we call the technical lead. This is typically the faculty member or the head of the lab within the university. Oftentimes, they are also the PI on the NSF award. And so this is someone with really deep, deep insights, deep technical experience with the technology. The technical lead could also be a postdoc, so somebody that's a little bit more senior, but really, really has a core foundation and understanding of the technology you're trying to commercialize. Now, the PI, they can serve in the technical lead role, but they do not have to. So they can serve what we call as the PI of record, that the PI may decide that this is a great program. It would be a great experience for graduate students and postdocs within the lab, but they just don't have time to engage in the program at this point in time. So it is perfectly fine for them to serve as the PI of record, but not actually participate on the team. The third role is what we call the industry mentor. So this is a person that is typically external, has not been involved with the development of the technology to date, and as someone that has deep business experience and firsthand experience within the industry in which you're trying to discover if there's opportunities. And so this person will act as a liaison for your team into industry. They'll help you make connections. They'll help you, kind of identify and understand some of the unique technology or unique aspects to that industry. So they're really essential in terms of helping guide and direct the team as you go through this customer discovery process. You are also able to include additional team members. So you may have a co-entrepreneurial lead or a co-technical lead to help build out your team, maybe to give other people opportunities to this experience. That is perfectly fine. A 4-person team works really, really well in I-Corps. Occasionally, we will allow a 5-person team. So if you have others that want to participate, think about, there is opportunities for a co-EL, co-TL. So step 1, you formed your team. Step 2, submit an executive summary application through our National I-Corps portal. And then I've given you the link here. But this application, it's going to ask you a little bit about your teams. So please give us a 5-sentence kind of bio about all of the team members. That is really essential. We're going to ask you a little bit about the technology at a high level. And then we want to get your initial thoughts on who do you think your customer would be? What are some of the specific applications the technology might be able to solve? And then from there, once you submit your executive summary application, within a few days, that we will schedule an interview. So somebody from the I-Corps staff will reach out to be able to and schedule this interview. So unlike other types of proposals that come through NSF, really it's this executive summary and interview process that determines whether or not you're asked to apply. So as part of this process with the interview, your team is going to need to commit to the following program requirements. So know this coming in, that you are going to commit to completing a minimum of 100 interviews during the 7-week program. The next thing you have to commit to is attending all of the I-Corps sessions. Every person on the team, including the industry mentor, will have to attend all of the sessions. This includes a kickoff, which is 3.5 consecutive days, the closing, which is 1.5 days. We have weekly web sessions that are typically 2 hours a week. And then we also ask you to attend office hours, which are about 30 minutes a week. So it's a pretty significant time commitment for the entire team. We also want to make sure that you're willing to actually engage and go through the customer discovery process. So willing and having the mindset to learn from the interviews. And then finally, we ask that you have this commitment to commercializing your technology. So at the end of the program, that it really is your goal to see how you can translate your idea from your lab out into the marketplace. So once the interview is completed, you will find out whether or not you've been accepted. So it's really the application and interview process that determines if you are accepted. And then once you're accepted, the role of the proposal is to enable NSF to actually process the award. So you will be invited to submit an I-Corps proposal. The award is $50,000, and the goal of the award is to really engage in customer discovery travel. We also allow part of the award to go towards stipends. So the EL can take up to $15,000, the technical lead up to $10,000. You do not have to take the award in stipends, but that is there and available for you just in case you need to fill the gaps between what your university supports in terms of your salary and if or whether or not you will be able to get a salary support during the program. So at least 20,000 of the award needs to go to customer discovery. I encourage you all to think about this award as really a travel award. So think about how this funding can help you get out of the lab, go to conferences, go to trade shows, even make site visits to specific potential industry partners in order to conduct those interviews. And then, of course, there's $5,000 available to cover your indirect cost, F&A. So you will then select the National I-Corps training program that you want to participate in. So right now for 2024, that we are offering 3 cohorts per quarter. So there'll be 3 in winter, 3 in spring, summer and fall. And you will be added to the roster of the cohort that you select. So about program information and cohort availability. So all of our 2024 cohorts are going to be held virtually. So there is no travel required to actually attend the training. This will all be held online via Zoom. So all of the programs, all the times that we list are in Eastern time. So the 2024 winter cohorts are no longer available. So those have already been filled. Looking to the next cohort availability, these will be our spring cohorts. So we have one kicking off March 25th, but this one is closing pretty soon. So if this is one that you're interested in, get that application in today. The next opportunity will be April 15th and then May 6th. So remember this, the customer discovery, the interviews that you're going to need to do, that those can be done by phone video conference, but really in person is the best way to collect those interviews. Right now, about 50 to 60% of all of the interviews that our teams are conducting are in person. So when you think about the cohort to attend, also be thinking about what are the opportunities for conferences, for trade shows, and do they overlap with the cohort? So being able to get out of the lab, go to a trade show that is significant, in terms of the industry application for your technology, that is a great way to start networking, to meet people, to gather interviews, and it really accelerates your customer discovery. So the other thing to keep in mind about when, which cohort to select, the weekly meetings, make sure that your entire team has availability on that day so you can attend the entire program. So now I just want to talk a little bit about I-Corps stats. So these are the stats that we collected from 2012 to 2022. And these are statistics that went into our report to Congress. So these are the official numbers. So officially, we had more than 2,500 teams participate, but now at this point in time, we have over 3,300 that have participated, over 7,800 participants. And what you can see is more than 50% of our teams actually go on to foreign companies. So it's just been an extraordinarily successful program in terms of enabling startups to really move forward. They've been quite successful at gaining follow-on funding, so more than $3 billion. Some of that, so about $1 billion has raised from public funding. So teams have gone on to apply for Small Business Innovation Awards from the federal government, but also a significant amount of private funding. So more than $2 billion in private funding. So I-Corps is really widely recognized as an invaluable program for, even private investors, because they're going to ask you, have you engaged in customer discovery? And being able to say you've participated in I-Corps is actually going to be a very solid and significant kind of note of credibility for your team when you're talking to investors. All right, so just some I-Corps program resources. Here are the different links to the websites that you will find helpful. So the I-Corps team solicitation, that describes more about the program, how to apply. the executive summary application submission portal. We have the link here. And then our I-Corps team's website, lots of good information, including FAQs about team eligibility and how you can spend the money. So with that, I want to thank you for joining and learning more about the I-Corps Teams program, and open it up to any questions. So Ruth, if you would help me with answering questions. If you have questions, just please put them in the chat.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ruth Schumann. I'm also Program Director. I'm going to read your questions. If you put them in the chat, I will read them out loud. And Molly is going to answer them for us. All right, Molly, the first question is, if a team has a regional invitation to apply and has conducted 20 interviews, does that mean they only have to do 80 interviews?
No, that means that
The
you
national program.
have 20 contacts that you can leverage, go back to them and say, do you have other people I can talk to? So the way we count the 100 is it has to occur after the kickoff and before the final presentation. So it has to be during the 7 weeks, 100 interviews within that time frame.
Great, thank you. And next question is, can a recently graduated student serve as EL on the team?
If that answer is, it depends. So typically, if you are a newly graduated entrepreneurial lead or newly graduated undergraduate student, that entrepreneurial lead position is typically for a graduate student or postdoc, but absolutely there are opportunities to possibly serve as a co-EL on a team. But once again, it really depends. I encourage you to submit an application, put in the bio, and be sure that you still have that university connection to the PI and the technology.
Yeah, if I could add, so this program is really designed for senior graduate students and postdocs to serve as ELs. So if you're a recent undergraduate graduate, then I think it will depend on some of the information in your application and how your interview goes, actually. If you are a graduate student that has recently graduated, you are absolutely eligible. As a matter of fact, many students do not participate in this program until they have graduated. So that's perfectly fine, and do not hesitate to apply. All right, Molly, I'm going to read another question. Do you have examples of interview forms?
So we do not have an example of an interview form. Typically, what you can expect in the interview is really just a conversation about eligibility. So one of the things we want to do through the interview process is really just vet the eligibility of the team. And then we want to assess your commitment towards engaging in customer discovery, your commitment to actually participating in all of the programs, and then that you're thinking about taking this forward after I-Corps.
Great. I have a two-part question next. What should be the industry mentor's credentials for this program?
So the industry mentor, you need to think about this person as a guide, a real mentor to the team. So you need to identify someone that has actually worked in that industry that you're interested in exploring, and that actually has some experience with how to bring new products into that industry. So you really, it's not just someone that has, done a startup before, but someone that can really open doors and guide your team through the customer discovery process within that industry context.
Great. And can the budget be used to support the industry mentor?
It cannot. So stipends are available for the EL and the TL, but not the industry mentor. So oftentimes, when we see industry mentors, these are people that maybe had worked in the industry and are close or at retirement, and they're looking for ways to give back and stay engaged.
Great, thank you. Next question is, what if the grad student involved moves on to another institution?
You can still participate with the team as an EL. So the PI, especially, if they're going to be TL or the PI of record, that will come from one institution and the funding will go to that institution. However, not everybody on the team has to be associated with that institute, the same institution. So, TL, you could be at another institution as well, but have had worked on that technology prior.
I think, again, just to add, we don't have a requirement that you're actually at a university. That's not a requirement, but you have to have conducted the work at a university, and the PI has to be at a university and can submit a proposal. But the team members are not required to be at the university. And it's something you should talk with your PI about, and maybe your grants office as well, to be sure they understand that you will have expenses that need to be reimbursed, and that you may request a stipend that you would be eligible for. So those things are probably a good thing to talk with before submitting your application. All right, let me read the next question. And I guess this is there was a second part to the one I just read to you. It says, is it up to the PI of record to find a replacement for a graduate or postdoc? I think what they mean is if the student has moved on.
Then yes, it would be up to the PI to identify who would be best to serve on the team.
Great, thank you. And again, if you move on, it doesn't mean you can't participate. So I think that is something that's often kind of overlooked. If for some reason you cannot participate, however, that's a different question. So if you're saying, I've applied, but I now can't participate, then your PI should contact NSF immediately. All right, next question. Can regional be done before or after the award?
The regional must be completed before the award. So, well, and I guess, it's a trickier question. So there's the application, the interview, the proposal, and then the award. So the regional must be completed at the time that you have an application for the interview. In some special cases, if the cohort is going to be later and you maybe have another team member that wants to do a regional, that they can do it in the period in between the application and the actual participation in the program. But no, for the most part, that we ask that the teams participate in the regional before they start their application. It's one of the things that we'll check.
Yeah, think of the regional program as an introduction to I-Corps. And so in part, if you are interested in the national program, it's a way for you to prepare for the national program. It introduces you to the I-Corps process and to the I-Corps language, which is quite different than probably anything you've experienced before. And it also gives you an opportunity to conduct interviews. So, and I would think of those as practice and preparation for the national cohort. So we want really everyone to participate in a regional program first. And because it really does give you that confidence to come into the national program prepared. All right, let me read another question. The 100 interviews have to be all of them from different companies Or is it a head count, or can we interview different people in the same company?
So good question. You are going to be interviewing people. And so you're going to develop a hypothesis that I believe, a production manager will be interested in my technology because it will help him be cheaper, faster, better in some way. So, depending on the specific people that have the information that you need. So, for instance, say you have a new sensor that can be used in a production control line. And so you might want to talk to one of the operators that is actually on the production line. You may want, because you'll have, specific questions. How does this work now? How would it integrate into the technology? But then you may need to know something about, well, how are purchasing decisions made? So that operator may not have that information, but a production manager would. So it is possible that you could interview different people that are in different roles within the same organization. But, you're going to want to talk to people from across organizations as well. So this will be entirely up to the needs of your team and the information that you need to discover. But, keep in mind, if you interview 100 people in one organization, all you've become is an expert in that one organization. And so the idea behind the interviews and, identifying a commercial pathway is that these interviews are helping you establish a network of very interested stakeholders that are going to want to see you be successful. So you're already building your network as a part of this 100 interviews. So you want to make sure that they're as relevant as possible to the goals that you're seeking.
Great, thank you. All right, now a couple of questions about international customer discovery. So is international customer discovery okay? And can you travel to an international conference?
So this is possible, but you need to have permission from NSF in order to be able to go to an academic conference or travel to an international conference. And so when you go to our website, we do have a list of FAQs. FAQ 36 is the one that talks about international travel, and you'll just need to be able to provide us with some additional information. So what is the name of the conference? What is the purpose? What are you seeking to find out? Who are the people you're going to talk to? It is possible, but you will need permission from NSF to do so.
And I could add, you don't request international travel in your budget. So we don't allow it in the budget request of your proposal. This is something that you would ask us about typically after the kickoff of the program, once you've gotten through that kickoff phase. All right, I have a long question here, so let me see if I can read that, Molly. I am a senior PhD student and my advisor can't join the program. In this case, am I the EL and TL? Maybe I'll stop there for a moment. Do you want
You
to answer that?
cannot assume two roles. So you will need to have at least 3 people on the team, but it's perfectly fine for, the faculty member to be the PI of record.
All right, and it goes on to say, I have another PhD student on the team. In that case, should I be the TL and the other student be the L, or which way should we go? Tell them a little bit about making that decision.
So I would say the person that has the greater expertise in the technology, probably the more senior person that's been working with the technology, they should take the role as technical lead and have the more junior person assume the entrepreneurial lead. It also needs to align with your interests and how you want to spend your time over the 7 weeks. So really, the entrepreneurial lead will be the person that is leading the team, organizing team activities. They will be the ones that are doing the presentations during the weekly sessions. And, probably the one that's going to be on the front end of organizing the interviews and debriefing the team after interviews are conducted. So it really depends on who you are, who your, other team members are, what your skill sets, and the goals of what you want to get out of the program.
Another way to think about this, when this program was designed, The EL was kind of equivalent to the person that might be managing the company, maybe the CEO, or in business development. So if your interests really are in kind of understanding this business environment and you like giving presentations and answering questions from the instructors, the EL role is probably best for you. Not if you are more interested in supporting the team with your knowledge about the technology, then I'd say the TL role is probably the most appropriate. But if that seems a little bit hard to make that decision, you apply with the best knowledge you have, and maybe you decide in the program you want to talk with the instructors about possibly changing off once in a while. I think especially for students, that's perfectly okay. So keep that in mind also. All right, let me read the next question. Are NGOs considered a company to interview?
So, once again, we don't interview companies, we interview individuals that have roles in organizations. It doesn't matter from NSF's point of view, if it's a for-profit company, a nonprofit company, a government organization, that this is going to be part of your customer discovery process. So, will your customers be in a for-profit company, or will they be some other type of organization? And do you have hypothesis to test in that context? So, once again, this idea that you guys will be interviewing individuals within some type of organizational context. We are agnostic about what that business organization context is.
All right, one more question just popped in. What's the acceptance rate for the National I-Corps program?
So it is typically very high. So once again, we are not reviewing your proposals. They don't go out for, panel review like you would typically see with NSF. It really is about team eligibility. So do you have a team that meets the eligibility requirements? And do you have a team that is willing to actually make the commitment? And that is done through the application and the interview process. And so if we do turn teams away, it is because for some reason they are ineligible, but we will also work with your team. If there is a reason you're ineligible, how can we make that so you meet the eligibility requirements? So our attitude here in I-Corps is we don't want to turn anybody away, that if there's some way we can help you reach those eligibility requirements, we want you in the program.
Yeah, one thing I might add is eligibility, as Molly said, is probably the number one reason that we can't accept you to the program. But probably number two is the stage of development of your technology. So one of the reasons that we like this application and interview process is we want to learn more about where you are in terms of the stage of development. And we want to emphasize that you need to be at a stage where you have validated or verified that you have a technology that will solve a problem. So if you are thinking about applying and you are at the concept stage, that is, oh, we think we have an idea for a solution, that is too early. And we will be asking you questions to try to get at that stage of development. And if we determine that it's a little bit too early, we'll ask you to go back and continue working on the technology and then reapply at a later date. So that's probably the second most common reason that we do not accept teams to the program. All right, so I think that's the last question on my list. Oops, oh, wait, one more. Sorry, missed one. The question is, can I have an IM that is in the field and only has business experience and a co-IM that has entrepreneurial experience?
So we recommend that you have only one industry mentor on your team. And so, really the expertise that will be most relevant to your team is going to be that firsthand industry expertise. And so, you can have the person with the entrepreneurial experience maybe just serve as an advisor to your team, but not actually an official member on your team.
So I think we've come to the end of the questions. I'll give you 1 more minute or so to put in a question. And while you're thinking about whether you have another question, I think one thing I wanted to just mention to you, if Molly went through the requirements of the program, obviously this particular program, the I-Corps Teams program, is aimed at academic researchers. But if you are a company listening today, you unfortunately, and you are outside the university and you don't meet the eligibility requirements, you are not eligible for this program. And I always invite people to write to us, and we will try to direct you to the best next thing for you. So I apologize if you are a company today, but companies are not eligible. You must be submitting an application from a university, or another institution of higher education. And so if that doesn't meet your description, write to us and we'll give you some ideas. All right, I don't believe I have another question. So if you think of a question, you're always welcome to write to us. We're happy to answer your questions by email.
Yeah.
And I always like to add, we are often tied up and aren't able to answer our phones. So calling is not a good option. Send us a quick email. We will answer your questions and try to get right back to you. And we certainly look forward to getting your applications. I'm sure Molly would agree.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you guys for your time and interest in I-Corps, and we hope to see your application soon.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for being here today.